Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're talking about the power of gratitude. We're honored to be joined by Suzanna Dever, Vice President of Business Development with Thnks. How are you doing?
I'm great, Jeremy. Thanks so much for having me this morning. Glad to be kicking off summer with you and the rest of our listeners.
Absolutely. So we get to talk about technology, making it easy, but as I mentioned, the power of gratitude. And so you have a whole platform. We'll talk all about that, but give us a little bit of history for launching Thnks.
So yeah, it's a really neat story. Our founders were working together in Manhattan, and they had a deal close, and they wanted to do something thoughtful for the client. And they went to their swag closet and they were like, yeah, just none of this really seems appropriate. What if we send the wrong size and that's insulting? And then they thought, well, what about sending, a nice something digitally? And they both got on their phones, and there just was no easy way to do that. And hence the idea. And several years later, we're now a company of about 75 people and have a very useful, easy platform where you can send all sorts of things, from an Uber ride to a bottle of wine to a cup of coffee, in 30 seconds or less. So a really cool story. Obviously started in Manhattan, moved to Franklin in October of 20. And it's, been a great move for the company. Everybody in the South in Nashville has been great and very welcoming to Thnks.
And so obviously being, technology, anyone can use this anywhere. And so especially for large companies, entrepreneurial startups, individuals, there's so many applications, and we'll talk about that for sure. But go ahead and dive into how it works, because you have the website, there's an app, so you make it very easy. But talk about the process and how Thnks works.
So it's literally, like you said, there's a web app and a mobile app. And you simply just download the app for individual users. I use it myself personally for, babysitters or moms that may bring my kids home from school. And you download the app, and literally you go in, you search a massive catalog of things that we offer, from a full integration with the Amazon catalog to hundreds of physical items to anything digital you can possibly imagine. But the whole point of Thnks is being thoughtful in the things that you send, and knowing the recipient. So the more thoughtful and more personal you can be with the items that you're sending, that's what it's all about, is knowing your client and knowing your recipient. And because the catalog is so broad, there's really anything you can think of to send that is thoughtful. And the catalog is designed to help you choose the right item for the right moment, whether it's a thank you or a milestone like a birthday or anniversary, or and even an I'm sorry catalog, because at the end of the day, we all make a mistake. And so we can send a sorry a latte. So all the things that are there, and you can send via email or text, and it's all done in about 30 seconds or less. I actually learned about Thnks when I worked at my previous company. And I used the tool in a sales capacity, and it was very helpful for me in building my relationships and prospecting and shortening my sales cycle. And those relationships that I built during that time are relationships I built that are still intact, even though I'm not with the same company, because I took the time to I invested the time with those people and clients to really get to know them. And Thnks was part of how I did that. Just listening, paying attention to things that they like, or maybe their kids like, or interests that they have, and maybe what's in the background of their screen, since everybody's virtual these days. But I loved the company so much. I came to our CEO and I said, I really love what you're doing, and I'd love to work for you. And here I am. And now I'm really focusing heavily on bringing Thnks to the Middle Tennessee area. So Really cool, really happy to be with Thanks. Continues to be growing and adding more features to the platform. So really excited to see what's coming in the next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us a creative way that people have used Thanks. I know that one, for instance, with our team, they were talking about how made a mistake, but you sent a board game, and I'm saying you just in general, but the person sent a board game of sorry. And so that way the family could play and how amazing it was. And so really creative use. What's been another creative way that people have used the platform?
So one of my most favorite items on the platform is something called a retro candy box. And if you can figure out via LinkedIn or whatever tool, and back into when your recipient was a child, you can pick a decade of candy, whether it's 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, 70s, 80s. There's even a 2000s, which I don't understand because that seems like yesterday for me. But it's just a super cool recipient experience because most of the recipients haven't thought about this candy since they were a child, and they're able to share it with their kids. And so it brings back this kind of nostalgic feeling, and it's fun. So it's not just fun for the recipient, but it's fun for their whole family. So I really love to send the retro candy box. But I also really love to send, and this seems simple, but a night off from cooking from Grubhub, because everybody's busy and everybody is just trying to get time back. So if I have clients that I know that are traveling, or maybe they have a sick child, or they've been, had some life issues going on, a night off from cooking is always so well received because everybody loves a break from cooking dinner. So those are probably two of my top two, outside of just your typical coffees and things that we send that are still very thoughtful. It's not really about the cost of the item. It's about the thought behind it, and the small frequent gestures of appreciation versus, the $150 bottles of wine, which are nice and appropriate at times. But it's also nice just to send hey, I know you've had a rough week. Here's an afternoon pick me up from Starbucks. So
Absolutely. And I think too, the fact that you can personalize that and, write that sort of note on there. So to your point, you personalize it. It's special. It's, a surprise. It's the thought that matters. And it goes back to the gratitude and the thoughtfulness and the generosity as well. Share a little bit about how it works in terms of for larger companies who want to use it for their team to open up the access. How does it work for them to kind of set thresholds, set up some guardrails, encourage use? So in other words, give a little bit of the best practice around for the larger companies that want to come in and be able to use Thnks.
Yeah, so obviously the compliance is a big part of the platform. And as a user, I didn't realize how robust the back end of the platform was. So lots of compliance in place. And we do have some massive companies with hundreds and hundreds of users. So obviously compliance is important. As an admin, who really is the one who has control of the platform over the users, you're allowed to restrict certain email domains. So if you don't want it going to free mails, that's something that can be done. If you want to say, I don't want my users to spend over $100 a month, that's also something that can be put into the platform. You can also customize your catalog. If you say, hey, we don't want our users having any access to alcohol, then we can remove the alcohol. And when they log into their platform, they will see what the admin has approved for them to send. So all the compliance is in place. The really cool thing about Thnks is when you're sending a thanks, some companies have a gifting policy where they may not be able to receive any sort of item. But with Thnks, you always have the option to donate the thanks to a charity of your choice. So that's also a really cool feature, and allows you to make sure that you're not violating a company's compliance. Because sometimes we just don't know, right? If they do what their gifting policies may be. So that's also very, very cool. But it's just as simple as, reaching out to me at Thnks and getting kind of a real high level walkthrough of the platform. It's pretty easy to use. I admit I am not the most tech savvy, so if I can use it, anyone can. And just showing you the features and benefits of the platform, and then just getting a team set up and building out a team and an org chart. And like I said, we have companies that have hundreds and hundreds of users, and they may pull from different budgets, and it's all on the back end of the platform. Also provides a robust analytics on the platform, so you know anytime someone's opened your Thnks, when they redeem the Thnks, if they donate the Thnks to charity, they also have the option to reply back to the sender. So when someone sends a Thnks and they have a recipient that replies back, that's typically where the light bulb goes off and people are like, okay, this is the coolest thing ever because I just made this person's day. And it was a simple, thoughtful item. So that's where the secret sauce kind of comes in, is when you recipients say thank you back. So we love getting all those.
And I think, to your point too, that plays into when you talk about employee appreciation events, and for companies, especially on the HR side, the executive level, being able to do, show appreciation for all of your employees and to push
Absolutely.
that thank you. There's been all sorts of case studies shown where when they do that, the response back for the team is profound,
Right.
showing the appreciation of what it means to them. So a little bit goes a long way, to your point before.
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to what we say. It's the small, frequent investments in your clients or your employees that really mean more than your annual, holiday type of thing. Obviously, we do a lot at holiday, but it's the small, frequent investments that really move the needle in terms of retention and sales cycles and all of the things that Thnks is used for. So.
Absolutely. How does Thnks make its money?
So Thnks is not a SaaS-based platform. So there's no fee per seat. There's no annual contract fee. It is based on the transaction of every Thnks that's sent. So there's a 20% transaction fee on the cost of every Thnks that's sent, but that's capped at $10. So for instance, a $5 or $6 cup of coffee, or $5 cup of coffee would be $6. And that $1 would be our transaction fee. So no required amount of Thnks send in a time period. It's all just based on what you send.
Yeah, makes it easy. I love it. What's next when you talk about the growth and obviously, your goal to kind of grow this out and expand? And I look at this, like I said, this is a national opportunity really, and even beyond. So what are some of the major goals for Thnks?
So we just rolled out in Q1 something called Thnks Local, where the recipient is allowed to enter their zip code and choose a small business to redeem their Thnks. So for instance, a cup of coffee, they enter their zip code, it's going to take them to a small business coffee shop. So we love the fact that we can support small business. We're working on building that out and making it more robust. We just completed an integration with Concur, which is the largest expensing system. Anyone in sales knows that expensing is not their favorite thing to do. So this is going to make that a lot easier. And other cool things coming are allowing your recipient to have a choice of Thnks. So maybe you give a dollar amount and then they're allowed to have a choice of items instead of just one particular item. All of those fun things are coming down the pipeline, and just continuing to bring Thnks to more people and hopefully in more companies in the Middle Tennessee area. So.
Yeah, I love it. And all those are great ideas. So as you're going through, I was like, oh, that's a good one too. So, and even like you said, to be able to make it more localized with the local businesses, that's huge. Being able to choose. I just think, the opportunities really are endless. It goes back to being able to show gratitude and the power of that. And so I think there's a lot of powerful application for what you're doing. And the future obviously is very bright indeed for Thnks. So go ahead and talk about where we can go to sign up, to download the app, to enroll and, get online, but talk about website, social media. Where do we go to start taking action and getting involved with Thnks?
So obviously you can just download the app. It's Thnks, Thnks. I always say thanks, drop the vowel. That's easy to do from any of your mobile devices. And then as far as, requesting a demo, you just go to thanks.com and request a demo. Or obviously you can reach out to me personally. And my email is sdever, SDEVER at thanks.com. And happy to walk you through the platform as well. And, we are local. So I love to meet people in person and would prefer that in any case. So always happy to meet and talk about the platform for coffee or lunch. But yeah, and I'm always around. I'm always, bouncing from one thing to the next. So, but pretty easy to get a hold of. So.
Absolutely. The website again, thanks.com, THNKS. So thanks, drop the vowel, like you said. So Suzanna, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.